Welcome back. Tomorrow marks 4 weeks since anybody's laid eyes on Dylan Rounds. Dylan is a 19-year-old farmer who is living and working by himself on a plot of land he bought with the help of his grandfather on the Utah-Nevada border. You see him there. His family back in Idaho says farming is in Dylan's blood, and his very first crop is sitting in the field as we speak right now. Where Dylan is a total mystery. His parents reported him missing May 30th, 4 days after he was last seen at the Saddle Sore Bar in Nevada. Within an hour, search teams found Dylan's boots about 100 yards away from his pickup truck in the opposite direction of the camper where he was living. There was a spot of blood on the boots, and the truck strangely appeared to have been washed. Nobody wants to find Dylan more than his mother, Candice Cooley. She joins me live now tonight. Candice, thank you so much for coming on. First of all, tell me about Dylan. Tell me about his love of farming and how he ended up on this farm by himself.
So Dylan, since he was a little kid, would follow his father, Justin, and his grandpa around on the family farm. That's all he ever wanted to do. Unfortunately, in the area that we live, it's too expensive for a young man like him to get started. It's just, the ground's astronomical. So somebody that he knew turned him onto this ground down in Lucin, Utah. It has been farmed before. There's water rights. The ground needed to be broke out again, the brush torn out. So for 2 years, that's what he's been doing, is prepping this land to farm it again. And the price difference is unreal. So it was his dream. He could afford, him and his grandfather owned 640 acres. And his dream was he was going to develop 2,000 acres in the valley and have his own little place that nobody was ever going to want to move houses into. He was never going to get beat out by the competition because nobody wanted to go out and farm in the middle of the desert. But he did, because he knew.
So he was living his dream, it sounds like, Candice. Yeah, it was his dream. He finally was able to get this farm, and then he vanishes. Did he have any enemies? I mean, when you realized that he wasn't answering the phone anymore, I mean, what first popped into your head? Honestly,
a farm accident. Honestly, something happened to him. He's laying out there in the desert and he's hurt, and we got to go find him and get him to a hospital. Myself, his father, his grandparents, all of us, that's what we all thought, that we're going to find him out there in the desert with a broke leg or a snake bite. Something like that was what our thoughts were.
And we're told that his boots were found 100 yards from his truck, and that his truck was oddly washed. What do you think that means?
So let me clarify that. So it was Dylan's grain truck, not his pickup truck. So in that picture, his grain truck was it was inside that shed, and the boots were back behind it where that dirt mound is. His camper is 5.5 miles in the other direction where his pivot and his irrigation pond and all of his other stuff is. So his pickup truck was what was washed, not the grain truck.
But what do you think it means that the boots were found 100 feet from the truck? I mean, I don't know much about farming. Does that indicate something, or is that just totally strange? Or
it's bizarre because Dylan was such a particular kid about his boots from the time he was little. I'm talking from the time this kid was 3-4 years old. For years, I'd have to go onto Amazon and find the exact same pair of boots when he grew out of one. And he didn't have 2 pairs of boots. And he didn't wear tennis shoes, and he didn't wear flip-flops. He had a pair of boots that he wore. And so we knew immediately when we seen the boots, something is wrong. Those are Dylan's boots. They're Dylan's size. They're what he wears. He's got a side step where he kind of wears out the side of his one boot. He doesn't put his pants over him a lot, so the tops of them are shrugged down. I mean, they were Dylan's boots.
So are there any leads, Candice? Are police giving you any information? And is there a person of interest? Has there been any progress?
So since the FBI got involved the week of the 14th, there's been a lot of progress that we can't release. Nothing that's giving us a direction, but stuff is finally starting to happen. From the time Dylan's boots were found, from the time his key fob was missing, his pickup we noticed was washed, nothing was done to treat this as anything more than a kid walked out into the desert without his boots. I mean, literally nothing. There was no fingerprinting. There was no processing of any scenes. His camper, his pickup, his boots, his grain truck, nothing was done. The search
Yeah,
was
you
called
mentioned
off.
that. I mean, the only reason I knew about this is because so many people on Twitter said you've got to do this story. It's not getting enough attention. Do you
Well,
think law enforcement dropped the ball in the beginning?
absolutely 100%, and no doubt. And I will not go back on that. And any of our family members and close friends who have been close in the case will support us right along with that. When Box Elder County came out, they came out Monday, May 30th, got there approximately between 4 and 5. I really wasn't keeping good records at that time. None of us were. They left after dark, and they did a good job. Don't get me wrong, especially volunteers, they did a good job. But by the next day, when they come out and the sheriffs and everybody came back out, it was around 2, 3 in the afternoon. They called it. They literally left our family out in the desert to figure out what happened.
Oh my gosh.
They called it and left. We did not have another search and rescue team out there until Friday, which would have been the 3rd, and that was Weber County. And then from there, they left us again. Saturday, June 4th, we had about 250 people out there from the public and close friends and family helping us. We had no guidance from Box Elder. We had no help. We had one person from the sheriff's office out there for about an hour and a half, and he left. They left us.
Yeah, I mean, that's so disturbing. That's so disturbing to hear, Candice. I'm glad the FBI is involved now.
Yes.
I'm glad that we're able to get this out there. You've got my cell phone number. If there's anything we can do to help in the future, we'll try to keep it in the headlines. Candice Cooley, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope Dylan is found soon.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.